I know Brazil, we're in the same time zone, right? We're in
No,
the
we are an hour after.
an hour after. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go. There's your answer.
It's 2
Sarah was
p.m.
asking.
Wait, no, it's 1 p.m. for you, 2 p.m. for me.
Oh, okay, so you're an hour ahead.
I
Oh,
am.
that's
I
so
am an hour
interesting.
older.
Oh,
You're an hour younger.
oh, that's so exciting. Oh, I just want to officially say hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our live stream from the Florida School of Massage community. And for those of you that don't know me, my name's Christina Polney, and I'm here with the beautiful, amazing Cristiane Machado. And behind the scenes, we have Sarah Thompson and Chrissy Martinez, who I'm so thankful for because without their help, I would not be here. And we've been so motivated and inspired to continue to get creative and find ways to stay in community and in connection with one another through these ongoing extraordinary times that we're in. And of course, I'm not at the school. I'm coming to you from home. And Cristiane, she's in Brazil since March and unable to travel home to Costa Rica, where she now lives. And at FSM, of course, we're so looking forward to resuming classes whenever that's possible. And as always, I know we have a variety of listeners from all different backgrounds, and some of you are very familiar with our community. And for those of you who are brand new or just joining us for the first time, I want to say welcome. And yes, we are a massage school, and yet it is so much more than that. Many of our past students and professionals, they continue to return to Gainesville for continuing education, for advanced trainings, and sometimes just to dip into this place of ongoing learning and of not only body work, but also the exploration of our inner world through this vehicle of touch, awareness, and communication, both verbal and nonverbal. And of course, we're currently still working from home. And we've just really been looking forward to this time together. And we're going to have about an hour with Yanni, her growth, her own path to the Florida School of Massage, and how she has living life to the fullest and loving it. And she's a longtime massage therapist, graduate of FSM. She's a yoga and Zumba instructor. She leads retreats all over the globe and is the founder of a nonprofit called YogaLoka. And we'll be talking about all those things in just a minute. So, and we're going to reserve time too at the end for all of your questions and comments. So I know you're either joining us on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. So please type your comments or questions into the chat and at any time at all. And it's our goal to interact with as many of you as we can. And Sarah and Chrissy will be monitoring those for us. And if you're joining us on YouTube, you can also just go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel by hitting the red button below. And remember to hit the notification button as well. And for those of you on Facebook, you can just like this video and follow us there. All right, so Cristiane.
Yay, girl, here we are.
And I know you've been a part of the massage school community for years, and you know so many people. And I know we have some listeners who are new to the Florida School of Massage community, and some people might know you very well. So before we move into our conversation, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and, you know, what originally inspired you to study massage all those years ago, and, you know, also how your path led you to Gainesville to FSM.
Right. Yeah, so it's so great to be here. Thank you, Christina, for inviting for this. So awesome. And yes, so I am originally from Brazil. I say I am Brazilian, but I'm also a citizen of the universe by default, right?
Yeah.
And I moved to the United States in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
I went with, at the time, my husband and our son. He was 9. And there was this whole adaptation and at times complicated times because the culture was so different and all that, the language. And I was going through this refining of myself and reconnecting with myself. I was in my early 30s and I couldn't quite go to I couldn't go to work because I wasn't I was just there with my husband at the time. So I was
Sure.
looking, yeah, for something to do and to work because I wanted to be independent, of course.
Yeah.
So I started doing home health care with a Brazilian
Mhm.
friend, and I really loved it. I loved that sense of service, of being of service,
Mhm. Mhm.
and was also to a way to connect with my background back in Brazil.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I used to volunteer a lot with my mother because she was a seeker,
Uh-huh.
right? And so we did a lot of volunteer work with the different either religions or service that we did together.
Mhm.
And it really resonated with me, that service. So
Mm.
I decided to go back to school. I was going through transition in my marriage. It was
Mhm.
my second marriage to the same husband.
Ah,
And yes, and nowadays we are more family nowadays than we were then because
sweet.
it was the way that it worked out. But at the time, I was going through this major transition of finding myself, figuring out relationship and all that, and really trying to find me. What am I here for? What do I
Mhm.
want to do with this beautiful life of mine? What do I want to do? Right.
Yes.
So did the start working as a nursing assistant and loved it. I worked with elderly and it was very beautiful times, and that led me into wanting to go a little deeper into this work of service. So
Yeah.
I decided to go to nursing school then.
Uh-huh.
So I did 2 years of prereqs as Santa Fe, so a lot of anatomy, a lot of great fun into the body and preparing for the nursing school, and I got accepted. But
Wow,
in
yeah.
this meantime, I started noticing a little low grade lower back, right?
Mm. Uh-huh.
And I was at the time working at a nursing home as I was preparing to go to nursing school,
Yeah.
and I had insurance. So I was like, I'm
Oh.
gonna find me a holistic practitioner,
Uh-huh.
and I found Richard Masla
Oh, yeah.
in Alachua.
Hi,
And
Richard, if you're watching.
yes, he might be Ram. And I started getting massages with him and doing more of this holistic approach. And in my first massage session with him, I burst into tears, and there was all of this emotional
Mm.
everything that was happening. I was far from home. I was raising my kid. The marriage was not working. I'm trying to figure
Mhm.
out what am I doing here. So there is
Yeah.
all of this release from my muscles, right? Because now knowing what I know, our
Yeah.
bodies will really absorb emotions and
Yes.
stress and all of that. And I remember being on that table like, oh, I want to be able to provide, to facilitate this for people because it was really amazing, it was really magical, and it actually helped with the whole transition of the marriage and all of that.
Wonderful.
So yeah, and so at the same time that I got accepted to nursing school, somebody, I don't quite remember how
Yeah.
I got the invitation to do the visit to the school of massage, but I remember driving and arriving at the hint, and I had this major like, oh my gosh, I am at the right place at the right time. I don't know what this is, but I need to be here.
Mm.
And that was that. I did not go to nursing school. My mama was very disappointed because
Oh.
for her, like being a nurse, especially back in Brazil, would be like I would be like a doctor, right? So,
Sure.
and massage therapy in Brazil was more like, we don't know, what do you want to do? You want to massage people?
Uh-huh. That's so
So, but it
interesting.
was the right decision. It was everything that I never imagined that
That's
could
so
be.
wonderful.
And I'm
Yeah.
very, very grateful that I made that decision, even though there was some tension on making that decision because,
Yeah, good for you. But it sounds like, you're describing what so many students describe after once they're at the school. Two things really inspiring that you said. One is that you were aware of this kind of low grade pain in your low back. And for whatever reason, you listened to that. You listened to your body, which, is something that it's hard to prepare students for that. But once we're in the school, we realize that, oh, that's a skill to truly listen to myself and to listen to the cues that my body is giving me. And
mm,
it's just such a wonderful thing that you listen to that calling. And also you were courageous because you made this choice to shift gears and even going against your family approval and all of that. That was actually very brave at a young age to do that.
yes,
So
taking that leap of faith
it was a leap of faith. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it
And
just felt right, even though it
yeah.
was scary because I was
And so
going
often in
through
life,
hard.
we may feel what we know what is right, but we don't always choose to act on it. So good for you. And now here we are. And
Yes, I know, right?
so I know it's so great. And so you graduated from FSM, and I know that you did a few things right after graduating. You
Yeah.
started your own business by renting your own office space, and you spent a lot of time with Richard studying spiritual traditions and practices. And at the same time, you wanted to deepen your understanding of injuries and anatomy and physiology and kinesiology. And so you took a job at Request Physical Therapy here in Gainesville as a way to deepen your knowledge and get your hands on a lot of bodies, right? So
Yeah.
tell us about those early days when you first graduated and what was your work life like?
Yeah, so that's exactly how it went. What was really cool and interesting is that right after I graduated, I went to work with Richard, who became like a spiritual guide, also a mentor, and a dear friend. And
Yeah.
I started working with Abhyanga massage. I remember really, I told you
Uh-huh.
what's the name?
Yes.
Doing Abhyanga massage and learning in the Ayurvedic traditions and Ayurvedic medicine. And we worked together for about a year. I learned all of this, and it was really, really great times to deepen this spirituality that I had on my upbringing since my mom was a seeker back in Brazil, and because Brazil is
Mm,
so mystical,
yeah.
and I was able to reconnect with all of that got inspired even more at massage school. Uh, so for a year, I was very embracing this spiritual aspect of physicality, right? And how through physicality we can experience spirituality. But it got to a point that I really wanted to understand more of the significance of body parts and how these intrinsic like connections can really make so much sense at points with pain and stress and chronic pain especially. I had a
Mm-hmm.
client that had this like chronic lower pain that we were able to unlock by working through it emotionally and physically. So at that time, I had an invitation from Julie Baker that went to massage school with me.
If you're
And
watching, hi Julie.
yes, you might be Julie if you are, girl. Oh gosh, I love you so much. Um, yeah, we then I went to work at Request. At the time, I worked at Request for Women, so we worked a lot with the feminine and how, especially for women, for the feminine, the hips would be so locked up and all of these really awesome studies that I was able to do. So I got
Mm,
more and more fascinated about the body,
mm,
right? And I learned a tremendous amount of knowledge really with hands-on, which was what I really wanted, to be able
Yes.
to take that forward and take that to my clients and to my
Right.
friends and to my family. And
Yeah.
at the same time, my workload was pretty, I wouldn't say heavy, but was very busy because it was a physical therapy space. So we were always in and out. But what was really cool is that I worked very closely with physical therapists. And I
Yes.
was like soaking it up. I was just so in love with it. I
Yeah.
wanted to learn everything. And at the same time, I started seeing a lot of people privately. So it got to a point that I decided to take another leap of faith
Uh-huh.
and against the odds, because people told me, "What? You're going to be a massage therapy with your own practice in Gainesville where everybody does massage?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, I will. I will." Because
Yeah.
when we do it from our hearts and when you believe in what you do, there's no way you're not going to be successful. You are going to be successful. So I kept both for a while until my practice really grew. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And it was time to fly solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would do like I always had I Michael Bros was my mentor at massage
Uh-huh.
school, right? So we talked a
Right.
lot about like workload and ways to not feel burned out, because there was always something that I was very conscious of and I did not want to
Yes.
happen, because I just love doing massage so much, right? So I
Yes.
was
Yes.
always very mindful. I wouldn't really go over, like I set up a limit for myself, like
Yeah.
25, 30 and hours a week, and it has been really wonderful. Was I Yeah. So it
That's so
was
great. That's
beautiful,
so
yeah.
great. And two more really good points, because a lot of people when they first get out of school, it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to start my own practice? But where am I going to get clients from? So a lot of people take multiple jobs in the beginning as a way to start building their clientele. And that's just such a great example of how getting all that exposure at request, how that was so helpful to you. And then eventually you get to this point where I have more work than I can handle, and then you get to pick and choose and really
Mhm.
create the type of work and the schedule that you want to do. So that's all really fascinating. And
Yeah, and there was that shift also of
yeah,
quantity over quality at that point, because
yeah,
I was confident in my work
yes.
too, in my hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we teach anatomy and physiology and kinesiology and all those things, but it's like the learning never stops in our
Never.
profession, which is what is so fun. Like every time we touch people, we have that ability to learn something new, and everyone is in their individual experience of their bodies. So that's part of like the reason that we love massage so much,
Hmm.
right? And
Keep us
so,
fresh.
yeah, exactly. And I know one of the things you shared with me was that you never got tired of massage and how your career just kind of led you, from one evolution to the next. And it wasn't too long before you started getting more involved with yoga too. In fact, I think you actually took one of your most inspiring yoga classes while you were a student, right? And it was yet
Yes.
another awakening for you. So, can you talk about that experience of you shared with me that you had in that first class, and how that kind of led you to this other arm of your career path?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yoga, there was a little seed that was planted even back here in Brazil as a teenager, right?
Yes.
But for my mom was not a thing of the good girl to do. So
Huh?
I put that a little bit to the side, but it was there. And
Yeah.
then at massage school, there was going to be a class. There was going to be a yoga class. And I jumped right on it. I'm like, I'm going to take that. I don't remember if it was an elective. It was something
Yeah.
that it had the word yoga on. And I'm like, I'm taking that class.
Yeah.
And on that class, there was this whole recalling of energy, of
Mhm.
how energy it's an integral part of who we are, because as we are doing the poses, and I did not know much in depth about yoga, but all I could feel was the zinging of energy into my hands. And every time that I would lift my arms was literally, I had the zinging of energy that would come out of my fingers. And I'm like, my gosh, what is this? What is this kind of power that resides in me that just by moving and breathing, I get to experience. So it was like, it's almost like remembering a dream, right? Like
love that.
Going back to that path that somewhere along the line I got disconnected from, but that came back like really strongly. Came back like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more and more about this.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and then as I was at Request, right, working, I had the right, I have a free membership. And that's where I went to take more regular classes. And
at the Gainesville Health and Fitness Center, right?
Yes.
Yeah. With Samantha.
Samantha's there.
Hi, Samantha.
My yoga
You're
crush.
watching. We love you.
I love her. And at the same time, there is the Temple of the Universe in Alachua.
Yeah.
So there were all of these kind of full circles that start like, showing up for me, and I started really connecting the dots. So I would take like the free classes at the Temple of the Universe, and then at times I would stay to listen to Mickey Singer.
Mickey Singer, yes. For those of you who don't know, he's a New York Times best-selling author, and he's been the proprietor at a spiritual community in Gainesville for many, many years called the Temple of the Universe, where you can go for meditation and classes and lectures and things like that. Anyway, continue.
Yes. And I have a tendency to go out all over the place, but at some
good.
point
You're doing great.
So that's what happened. So what is really cool about this whole like going into the more physical practice that I wanted with Request, it really opened up the opportunity to take more yoga classes, right? So yoga really became part of this. Like, it was a progression. I wouldn't say like yoga was something that, oh my God, I became a daily yogi right off the bat. No.
Right, yeah.
There was a lot of resistance, and I'm busy. I'm raising my son. Now I'm a single mom at that point. Because ended up that the marriage ended. But there was this deep connection with yoga that it felt like I want this always by my side. I want this to never live my life.
Beautiful.
Because it was that powerful, and also opportunity to get to know this body better, so I could do even better in my practice, because then I could take this knowledge out to others.
Yes, because really, I mean, just like massage school is this major awareness tool. Like I really learned to be aware of my body in massage school. It didn't come naturally to me as a child. It's nothing we talked about in my family, and it's the same with yoga. Yoga is yet another awareness tool where it allows us to just stop and be in our bodies and feel ourselves, right? Which is a big part of massage. It's cool too, sensing ourselves.
Yes. And it's that ability to pay attention with curiosity, right? So
an inquiry.
I learned how the body is communicating all the time. Is that just we're too busy? We're going, and
so true.
That we stop.
And again, one of the blessings of this time we're in, right? Because we're all having a lot of time on our hands to just be and see what's going on, see what's bubbling up inside of us. So that's so great. Now, another one of the things that you're very well known for is your whole Zumba arm of your career path, right? Yet another arm. And I think you were first introduced to Zumba at the gym too, right? After hearing the sound of Brazilian music. And, you were like, Brazilian music, right? And so tell us
the light again.
So tell us about that and how that manifested again into this whole other arm of your career.
Yeah, and just making a parenthesis on this is really cool because it brings me to a book that I love very much. Is Be Here Now by Ram Dass,
Oh,
and how
yes.
he talks about all the costumes that we wear, right? So I
Yeah.
love it. I love when people meet me on the massage table or on the yoga or on the Zumba cannot conceive the idea of me doing all these things. They are so
Yes.
seemingly separated, but they at the end is really all knowing me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was at the gym one Sunday afternoon and I entered. And for a while, I was feeling very far from my background, very far from that Latin, that like sensual movement. I have always loved to dance, always,
Yeah.
always. My family, everybody danced. So I was feeling very, very far from all of that. Again, I was busy. Da, da, da,
Yeah.
da, da. When I entered the gym and I heard this Brazilian music blasting
Yes.
out of the back room, it was like literally like, whoa. I went right into the room and there were all these like people dancing. And there was this little wonderful black girl with like pulled eyes, and I was completely like mesmerized. And I'm like, I want this. And that
I
was
love
it.
it.
I was sold. It was like madness in a very good way because it all came back to me. I wanted to be part of that again. And yeah, I was front line girl. I was front row diva. I knew all the choreographies. And in a way, it was a third or fourth or fifth wave of spiritual awakening
Mm.
because as a teenager, as a young woman, I had a hard time with the feminine, with women.
Uh-huh.
I have always been very, very kind and very compassionate and very open to everybody. I never really understood judgment. I never really understood criticism. It was just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And the girls at that age, teens into young
Yeah.
adulthood, there
Yeah.
was all this like bickering and this like, so I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm
Yeah.
only gonna play and hang out with boys, with the masculine, because they can be so like right on. There is no nya 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 nya. And that was a decision I made then that I kind of carried into my life. And I didn't have that many girlfriends, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
And it was always like I would feel very like kind of separated,
Yeah.
but that was my own me, my own ways, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
Zumba was this rebooting of my femininity and my womanness, my everything, my sensuality, my sexuality. For a while, I was a little bit asexual after my, wedding. My marriage dissolved,
Sure.
and so it was a reawakening of that. So I would say it was like the fifth wave of my spiritual awakening, and also how I healed this
Mm.
relationship with women because Zumba, then, okay, so my instructor decided to move and I felt like orphan. I can like, no, I need Zumba in my life. I'm sorry to put that
Yeah.
screaming out
Oh,
there,
that's okay. Everybody's going through it at home, right?
right? Like, and but yeah, and she was gonna move, so I took another one of those leaps of faith. I have never thought of me instructing anything or teaching nothing in my life, but I needed that Zumba in my life. I
Mm.
needed, like, I needed breath,
Oh,
no?
yeah. Yeah.
So I wrote a little note to the director of exercise. I'm like, little note, because it was almost I did not want her to see it, but I wanted her to see it. So I put on her table like, Maria, my instructor is leaving. If you need a Zumba instructor, I feel I can do it. She called me
Wow.
like in 2 hours, like, are you serious? I'm like, I don't know, but I might be. So she sent me to Miami and I did my training with a guy who actually started Zumba. So
Wow.
I was for 2 days, and I came back. And the next week, they put me on the stage. They put me to teach, and I was scared for my life. There was so much fear. It was the fear of judgment, was the fear of criticism, was the fear. But I'm like,
Sure.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whomever is gonna judge is gonna judge. I need
Yeah.
to do it for me. I'm gonna do it for me. And from that, I reawakened my goddess. That's how I say, and
I love
my
that.
inner feminine really came out so strong that all these beautiful women started like coming to class, and they
Mhm.
wanted some of that too, and was a beautiful healing relationship
That's
for
fantastic.
myself, for them, and yeah, and that led to all over the world, traveling,
Yeah.
dancing, doing it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so now you're currently living in Costa Rica, even though you're stuck in Brazil because of COVID.
Yes.
And you're also in a whole nother evolution of your career. Like you said, you have all these tools now. You have Zumba, you have yoga, you have meditation, you have your massage practice that you still are
Yes. Yeah.
missing. We're all
Yeah.
missing using our hands
I
right now.
know.
And
I
yeah, and the reason you're in Brazil actually is because you're offering retreats all over the globe, actually for years now already. So
Yes.
tell our listeners how you moved into retreats and also cacao ceremonies gradually, and then made this decision to permanently move to Costa Rica, even though you're in Brazil.
Yes. Yes. I know. It's so funny.
Hopefully, you
Where
can
you
all
live? I'm like,
follow
right
me.
now I live here in my body because I don't know. But okay, so Zumba, right?
Yes.
Zumba was very strong. I was still doing yoga, but Zumba became like kind of took over. I
Uh-huh.
was traveling a lot, still doing massage whenever I came back to Gainesville, but a lot of Zumba.
Mhm.
And Facebook started coming about, and I was, doing one of these like up and down, and I saw this ad for this place in Montezuma, Costa Rica. It was called Anamaya,
Uh-huh.
and it just something made me click because it was yoga and surfing. And
Ah.
that started like the surfing was also something from my teens years that my mama said that I should not do it. This was not for good girls, and that's why
Yes.
I debunked the good girl syndrome. Like surfing, it's amazing. Anyways, so I'm like, okay, I want to go do yoga and surfing. So I clicked on it, and it was like this price that was like, I'm like, oh, cannot afford that right now.
Yes.
But I have skills. How about we do a Zumba yoga retreat?
Perfect.
And there's all these voices that they will like say yes, say no. I'm like, I am doing it. So I send them an email. I'm like, well, let me send an email.
Sure.
Hey, I feel like the Zumba would be a great complement to your yoga retreats and da da da. And the guy answered, and he's like, what are you doing in September? I'm like, September is my birthday. Nothing. It's like, well, how about you come? And that was it. That was 10 years ago, right? That was my
Mm.
first. So I went to do the Zumba. There was a yoga instructor there. So I did the Zumba, she did the yoga. And just by telling my students that I was going there to do Zumba, I had 8 people that joined in. So I was like, ooh, okay, there is something that I could totally do.
You filled
And
your first retreat.
the first retreat. And I was in love with that place, with Montezuma, which I actually did not know when I went to do my retreat, but I had already been there 2 years before because I
Wow.
went to visit my friend Alan. That was the father of one of my first paying clients in massage. So everything is so interconnected. It's just so
Yes.
mind blowing because
Yeah.
it is. If we start really paying attention, the signals and the signs are all there, right?
Yeah.
So Montezuma. And so since the first time I went, a little voice whispered in my ear that I was going to go back there many, many times. So then I
Mhm.
found myself there doing that retreat. And then from that retreat, I kept coming back every year. And then on the third year that I went back, I decided to stay to do my yoga, my teacher training. So I did my teacher training there. And then I started doing retreats all over the world, teaching yoga, teaching Zumba. And also in Montezuma, no, let me go back a little bit.
Sure.
I met cacao, which is chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate used as medicine that was used by the Aztecs and the Mayans and ancient, right, world.
Also in Brazil. Also in
Also
Brazil.
in Brazil. Brazil is
Yeah.
one of the biggest cacao belts
Ah.
of the world. We have cacao, really good chocolate. Um, so a dear friend of mine, Liz Gatman, in case that she's listening,
Hi,
girl,
Liz. We love you
my
too.
uvas, my firecracker, I love you. She brought cacao into my life. She went to Guatemala and she met the how do you say, the shaman of cacao, Keith, and she
Mhm.
brought cacao to St. Pete. At the time, I was already living in St. Pete,
Uh-huh.
and I said, like, girl, I don't know what to do with it, but bring it over, and we figure out what we do with this cacao. So we did a real Reiki, and we drank cacao, and it was quite amazing.
Fantastic.
Cacao is known as a heart opener, right? It's medicine of the heart.
Yes.
So it did wonders for me, and I kept drinking cacao, kept going. So Liz started a group every Sunday in her house. We drank cacao, we sat in circle, we meditated, and then back to Costa Rica. I go to one of my retreats, and a friend of mine, Ana Laura, who is also a wonderful woman, she said, like, listen, there is this cacao ceremony right in the forest with this shaman. I'm like, I'm in. So I went and was like another wonderful experience, but was
Mm,
also in a way different because cacao, depending on where it's grown, will have different effects because of the soil that grows in. There is all these like,
absolutely.
again, seemingly separated things, but that
Yeah.
at the end all connects. And the
Yes.
cacao that I drank, Costa Rica, was very luscious, was very dark, was
Mm.
very earthy,
Hmm.
and it was grounding. I am Libra sign, right? So I'm very airy,
Uh-huh.
all over the place. And sometimes I would feel hard to feel grounded,
Yeah.
to find
Sure.
that balance between
Sure.
being dreamy but being also active.
Yes.
And that cacao was like pure medicine to me.
That's so great.
Yes, and then I met this wonderful girl. She's now my sister. Her two sisters. They are now my sisters. They also are from Costa Rica, and they live. They used to live in Montezuma. Now one lives in the Ocean Peninsula. Anyways, they
Yeah.
are the main distributor of the sacred cacao that is grown in the Bri tribe in the Caribbean, and the women work with the cacao, and it's grown as medicine, not just
Fantastic.
to make like chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I start incorporating all of that in my retreats. I start
Wow.
doing the cacao ceremonies. I have to go a little bit back to my upbringing in Brazil because there was a lot of
Yeah.
ceremony or a lot of rituals that I grew up with because my mom and dad, they were
Yes.
seekers and they were involved with the orishas, with the
Yes.
macumba, this African
Yes.
ascendancy of religion. So everything really came together. I'm like, oh, I am meant to be doing this and to share with this people that come to my retreat this medicine. This is what we want to do, especially with yoga and movement and dance and massages to open up,
Yeah.
right? So we
Yeah.
can find that bravery that we all possess. So
So
on a
beautiful.
nutshell, that's how it happened.
Yeah. So we
Oh, and then like Montezuma, I just 2 years ago, every time I would go for my retreats, I would stay longer and I would stay longer and I would stay longer. And every time I had to leave, I didn't want to leave. I would cry. I was like, I don't want to
Aw.
go.
Yeah. So
And then
now
I
it's
moved
home.
there.
Yeah. Well, we have to talk about Yoga Loka and
Yes.
where the inspiration for that came from.
Yes, yes. So Yoga Loka, I'm wearing our Yoga Loka tank. We are
Yeah.
reaching higher, right?
Yeah.
Yoga Loka. I was living in St. Pete about 5, 6 years ago, and then one of my brothers, he's the oldest brother, he was diagnosed with being manic depressive and schizophrenic,
Mm-hmm.
and he got lost. He got lost here in Brazil somewhere that we
Mm-hmm.
don't really know,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, and don't know if he has transitioned yet or if he's still among us, but I always send him my love and light.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of mental illness and mental unwellness in our family. So it was always something that I felt that yoga and mindfulness and all of that was brought into my life so I could, if not prevent, find that mindfulness, find that love for myself, for all of me, right? With my
Yeah.
voices, because they are
Yeah.
there. I don't know about you guys if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have no voices. Well, I do. And I accept them. And I started through this work of mindfulness to really learn like which voices are really mine, which voices are from my mom, from my dad, from teachers, from ex-lovers, from all of these things that a lot of times is not who we truly are, right?
Right.
And I felt, or was a dream of mine, or whatever you want to call it, if my brother were to have had the opportunity to encounter somebody that would sit with him and guide him into a meditation, or that would simply look into his eyes and see him beyond the crazy, um,
Mm-hmm.
that he might have had more opportunities to be more mentally well, right? Since
Yeah.
I couldn't do that for him, I was recording some videos for my students that stayed in Gainesville. I lived in Gainesville for 20 years. So when I moved to St. Pete, they felt a little bit orphaned on my yoga practices. So I'm like, well, let me record these videos. So one day I was at the beach recording my session, and I somehow hit on my phone the time lapse,
Uh-huh.
but I did not know. So there I am, like an hour and a half doing my yoga. And then I went to see how the video turned out and was just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? That's such a yoga loca. Because loca in Spanish and in Portuguese, it's crazy. So I thought it was a crazy yoga.
Oh,
And I
that's
was
so
like, well,
funny.
aren't we all crazy? We're all crazy.
And the name
Well,
was
are
born.
we? Yes, I'm like, but we can be crazy and be okay. Maybe we are crazy with a K.
I love that. Yes.
And
And
then there was the loca with the K.
yeah,
And also there is also a mantra that is the loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. That
may
is,
all
may
beings be
all beings
happy.
be free of suffering and may they
Yeah.
be healthy and happy.
Yes.
And at that time, it came this like crazy with the K idea that I needed to bring yoga to marginalized populations, but really at the homeless level, because my brother at that point was homeless, right?
Yes.
And I was like, I want to do yoga and meditation with homeless. And that's what I want to do.
Fantastic.
So here comes Liz Gatman again. She was in Gainesville. We talked, and I'm like, girl, I want to do yoga with. She's like, I have been thinking of that too. Let's do it. So we first started at Grace Marketplace, and now we are not only in Gainesville, we are in St. Pete, Florida, we are in Miami, we are even in France, in the north of France, with my dear soul sister Alessandra, and we keep on growing and
Fantastic.
reaching higher. And now
So
we work
great.
with veterans, we work with halfway homes, like anywhere that
Prisons too with
prisons, indeed.
yeah.
We are in the Alachua County Jail.
And
And
really
we
all
also,
kinds of underserved populations basically.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And we also bring it to the community, bringing like free yoga and yoga by donations. We go to
Yeah.
parks and everywhere, really. We
And
do.
and I know you have nonprofit status, and of course
Yes.
we're all reinventing the way that we are living and contributing to our communities. And I know you've been unable to hold your donation classes during this pandemic. So why don't you just tell our listeners like the best way that if we want to donate or get involved, how we can still do that online? Just describe that because I know people are going to be interested and wanting to support that.
And especially in times like this, that I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of us feel very powerless, right? So
Yes.
this, and
Yeah.
it can be sometimes like something that we think is little, but that for us is so much, so we can
Has a
keep on
big
our
impact.
program.
Yeah. Like
Yes. So
$5
we
here or
actually, yeah, and we offer like free online classes. If you go to our website, the YogaLoka with
yeah. Yeah.
K.org, you're gonna find free classes, free meditation. There's a lot of wonderful content in there,
And we'll
and
put that
also
all in the show notes too for the people that are listening. So
awesome.
continue.
That is
Yeah.
great.
Sure.
And so we came up with a monthly donation if people want to participate. It can be anywhere from 10 to whatever you want to donate, or if you cannot donate, you can maybe share the links that we have there.
Yes.
And it's just a way for us not only to keep running our program, because we're still trying to figure out, like in the jail, we are trying to figure out how to do the online classes. It's a little bit more hard, challenging process because they have
Sure.
ways. But like with the veterans, we keep our classes online. So there's the Zoom membership. And like this, we don't have that many expenses, but we really want to grow. And one way that we want to grow is keep on offering trainings to our volunteers. We have about like total of 60, 70 volunteers. And
Fantastic.
we want to be able to absorb them in their work and keep on educating in making yoga accessible to all, right?
Wonderful.
And
Yeah.
we're really like shifting and changing to even like work more with the underserved populations,
Yes.
but also to we don't want to stop doing what we do, so we are really trying to figure out ways that we can keep on serving. And we just had a meeting yesterday, and there's all these wonderful ideas coming up. So we
Fantastic.
have created the change makers, right? Anybody
Yeah.
that would like to be part of this process with us, they will go to our website with yogaloka.org/change makers, and they
Okay.
choose to make a monthly donation, because that way we can also work on the budgeting, right? So we
Yes.
can know where we can reach, where we
Yeah.
cannot reach. And
Yeah.
when they do, they will get a T-shirt or a
Yay.
tank, a reaching higher tank,
Love
and
that.
they will be part of our desire, our intention to reach the people that have not yet been reached. And what we have been
Fantastic.
finding that a lot of times a person that is homeless or a person that is mentally unwell, they might be in the clinic or somewhere, they
Yeah.
feel very disconnected from society,
Sure.
because we in society tend to not look at them.
Right.
Truly, it's hurtful to us to see another human being in that situation.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's somewhat easier to, no, you're there and I'm here, and we create this separation, right?
Yes.
and
Yes.
and the yoga, what it does is union, it's unifying. The meaning of yoga is to yoke, is
Yes.
to connect. And a lot of times our volunteers, and I love it, they say like, I benefit more from just showing up there, because I can see all my judgment, I can see all my
Yeah.
criticism, I can see all my discomfort.
Yes.
But then I
Absolutely.
have the opportunity to look at this person's eyes and see beyond that. Because a lot of times we're
Yeah.
going to like, oh, they choose to be homeless, they choose to do this, but we don't know their
Right.
stories, you
Right.
know? And
Yes.
it's a really
Yeah.
wonderful way to practice empathy,
Yes.
right? For the person.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
sometimes they go and they don't even do yoga per se, but they
Yeah.
sit there with them, with
Right.
their discomfort.
Beautiful.
And the
Yeah.
YogaLoka, what it created too, is a platform for young yoga teachers, because they come very
Fantastic.
raw, just like
Yeah.
as a massage, and
Yeah.
to meet with these populations, like, there you are, show up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
know you and I could keep talking for
Right?
hours. It's so
We're probably
fun.
like 2 hours in, like,
So I want to pause here, and I just want to check in with Sarah and see
okay.
how we're doing, if we have any questions that she needs us to answer or any.
We,
Yeah. So can you hear us, Sarah?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
yes.
Yeah. So, I guess a question we can go to is if you have, Cristiane, any advice you would give to brand new massage therapists out there who are facing the world as it is right now. They really have been inspired to go do this work and be of service to, and they're facing COVID-19 and all the things that we're experiencing. Could you speak to that?
Sure. The first thing that I would say, like, trust, practice trust, right? That you are at the right place and that your work is needed more and more. All of us need that connection, the connection of touch, the connection of being there for one another. And I know that right now it's a little bit hard to even conceive, like, how can I do massage if I cannot touch people, right?
Right.
But you can actually sit, you can offer services of sitting and talking and maybe teaching self body work, right? That can be something that can be super helpful. I have been doing some sessions with people, just helping them into touching their own bodies and maybe touching at home, teaching a few easy techniques that they can do, and maybe practice on yourself too. Give yourself that self-love, that self-care, and trust that there is reasons for this that's happening, that is taking us further and higher, that we are becoming more conscious, and that with that, people will be seeking more and more of these services, because that is really what support our growth. It's somebody, I feel that as a massage therapist, I'm not so much there to fix and to heal, but to facilitate, right? So
Right.
more and more people will be looking for that opportunity to be guided into their body. So if you just finish school and you don't know, like, okay, now what? Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the moment, and
Yeah.
everything
Great
is gonna
advice.
pass. Nothing is forever.
Yeah.
Even this.
Even us. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I have one more question for you, Christine. Anything else, Sarah, that you want to share with us before I move on?
Oh, I think that's great. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Because I know we're almost out of time, and I really want to respect everyone's schedule.
Yeah.
So, one of the things we always talk about at the massage school, and a question we like to ask at the end of our interviews, is living life on your own terms. And I'd like to ask you, Cristiane, what does it mean to live life on your own terms to you? And how did that, how did you come to that during your time at the Florida School of Massage? And what does it mean to you to live life on your own terms?
Yeah, during the Florida School of Massage, I had the opportunity to meet myself again, right? To meet me. Beyond my mom's expectation, beyond anybody else's expectation. Being okay that I am not going to be for everybody, and not everybody's going to be for me.
Yeah.
Being okay that some people are just going to love you so much for who you are, and some people are just not going to get you.
Yeah.
Be okay with that. Let your ego go. Let your ego go.
Be and let be, right?
Be and let it be. You know, really embrace who you are with all of your idiosyncrasies.
You told me a beautiful story once with that you had this moment in massage school. Maybe you could share it with our listeners because it was so powerful when you shared it with me that you were sitting in class and Paul
Yes,
is no longer with us. Yeah, but
Paul.
tell that
See,
story because it's
there
such a
you
good
are. You're
one.
here, Paul. You are
Hi,
right here in
Paul. You're
Brazil.
with
Hi,
us.
Paul.
Right.
Yes, I have always been this ball of energy that I am,
Yes.
and since forever there were always people trying to tame my energy. Right?
Yeah.
First started with my mom. You're too loud. You're too this. You're too that. Okay, okay. Then was the sometimes the boyfriends. There was a little bit of the husband. There was a little bit of everybody. But that's me. That's who I am, and I really tried to tame because I could feel that some people would feel very with my energy, but I wasn't successful in taming it,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that's okay. So
Yeah.
I was arriving at the school. I was actually working overnight at the nursing home, and I would go straight to school. So I only slept like 4 hours a day every day, but I was just doing. It was the best time of my life, right? So
Yeah.
I would get to school like, oh my God, and probably I had already 2 coffees or something. But I would get like, oh my God, here I am, school, let's learn, yay, more. And something in me told me that was something that was really good that I was doing, that was like the guidance that I received. So I
Yeah.
got to class all bubbly, my own self, like full of energy, full of like this trying to keep up, not sleeping. And then I entered Paul's class. He was an anatomy teacher,
Uh-huh.
and Paul always sometimes in the morning was a little bit like, you know, grumpy. I'm like, okay, and there he comes, like all bubbly. And I was probably disturbing the class because a lot of energy, right? So he looks at me like, Cristiane. I'm like, yes, you are just too happy, aren't you? I'm like, yes, yes, I am. And at that moment,
Mm.
all of these like behind me, like you are too much of something to
Mm.
someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes, I am. And I became okay with that. And
That's
I
so great.
realized that the people that I am too much of, it will be their responsibility to move away from me. And then becomes my work of being okay that I was too much. But I am
Mm.
not too much for myself. I love myself.
And it was such a great story. Thank you so much for sharing that because what you really spoke to for me in that story was what Paul did for you was that he really saw you for who you were and he
Yes.
acknowledged you for who you were. And that's very much what you were talking about too with Yoga Loka and underserved populations who we might choose to look the other way. But when we really take a moment to pause and really see someone for who they are, acknowledge them and embrace them, it allows them to acknowledge and embrace who they are. And
Yes.
it's so much
Yes.
of what we do in our community at the massage school too.
Yes.
See people for who they are, individuals, respect our individualities, have an all-inclusive environment. And that was just such a great story. And I
Yes.
know we're out of time, but I just
Oh
want to
gosh,
thank, I want to
we were
thank
like, we're
you.
gonna talk, talk, talk.
I know. I want to thank you so much, Christiane, for
Oh, my
joining us.
pleasure.
I love you. And if
Love you,
questions,
Christina.
mwah, and if you have questions for Christiane and are interested in her retreats in the future, you can email her. Her contact is wellnessbychristiane@gmail.com. And then we have her website, and we'll put all of that in the show notes, christianemachado.com, yogaloka.org, and also yogaloka.org/changemakers if you want to make a donation. And of course, if you've enjoyed your time with us today, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and there will be
Please
a
do.
replay of this show too that you can listen to. And you can share it with your friends and do all the things like hit the like buttons. And you can also follow us and like this video on Facebook. And if you'd like to learn more about the massage school,
Please, yes.
You can visit our website at thefloridaschoolofmassage.com. You can register for our live stream and our newsletter, and you can contact us, and we would be happy to connect with you and share more information and keep you informed about when we'll be resuming classes, and even set up a live call like this with you so we can talk to you in person. And we'll have our next live stream 2 weeks from today, Thursday, August 19th, so you can just look for emails and notifications about that. And again, thank you so much, Cristiane and Chrissy and Sarah behind the scenes for all of your support. And it's always
thank you, girls. Thank you, Chrissy.
Yeah, such a joy to be together. So until next time, stay safe, be good to yourselves and to one another, and bye for now.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.